So these new plaques have just been added to the so-called Presidential Walk of Fame. They almost read, some of them, like Truth Social posts, including the ones under President Obama's that says he was one of the most divisive political figures in American history. Under President Biden's, it describes him as Sleepy Joe Biden and also says that he was the worst U.S. president in history. There are some that are nicer, including under Ronald Reagan's, for example, where President Trump says at the end that he was a fan of Trump's long before he ran for president. The White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, says the president actually hand-wrote some of these plaques himself.
I think anyone could have guessed that some of those plaques were written by Trump himself. They are written like a 10-year-old would write them. They are written like he writes his Truth Social posts. The fact that Joe Biden's plaque begins with the word Sleepy Joe Biden tells you everything about this man. We just did a story on how Trump cannot keep his eyes open in public for the past couple of months in the public events that he's been in. About 7 or 8 events that we've seen him in, he is asleep at the wheel. His eyes are closed and he cannot keep them open. Yet he is the one projecting that and has in the past onto Joe Biden. This is the White House. It's the people's house. This is where, there should be some shred of decency. And we see Trump just defacing it, coming off the heels of the ballroom, just disaster that's going on now. Mike, what do you make of these plaques that the Trump administration and his team have just been absolutely defacing over there at the White House?
Again, it's just, more stupid, sad, petty news coming out of this White House, quite literally the White House. I don't know anybody who would genuinely support this, other than obviously there's like the own the libs element of it. But if you remove that factor and just simply talk about like, should a president be doing this, inserting this gross level of bias, like I don't know. Like, imagine if any other president did something like this, especially if Joe Biden did this about Trump's presidency. Like, the right seems to have no problem with this, even though this is clearly some very petty behavior. It's very childish, as you mentioned, Emmanuel. And it's just, at what point are people willing to say enough is enough, man? Because, I think the only reason they support it is because it feels good to own the libs, and this is Trump saying, I am your retribution. It's building the strongman persona of get behind me and we'll trash those stupid libs and whatever. And look at how they cry, blah, blah, blah. It's all the snowflake mentality. But as always, this is just pure projection because MAGA is like the biggest snowflakes out there. And Trump is the king snowflake. Trump's narcissism is pretty much so fragile that if anybody says anything about him, whether it's from his inauguration size, which factually was smaller than Obama's, he has to insert the fact that, this delusion that his was bigger and now we have to live under his warped reality. So for me, it's just pathetic to see. It's very sad to see that our leaders are stooping to such deep lows, because at the end of the day, even if Trump leaves, we could say, well, that was just Trump being Trump, whatever. And hopefully that is the case, that after Trump leaves, honor can be restored to the White House and decency can be restored. But I can guarantee you, especially with the polarization that we see on social media and everything, it's only going to get worse because people are going to cite Trump as precedent, and they're just going to say, well, he did it, so I can do it. And that's where I think the right is foolish to double down and get so excited for this kind of thing, because if that pendulum ever swings the opposite way, they're going to be the victims.
I just want to remind people that you brought up the inauguration size. The very first press briefing during Trump's first term, I think it was actually an emergency press briefing that they gave on his first day of office, was about talking to the media about their coverage of the inauguration size at Trump's inauguration versus Obama's. That was something that they made an emergency press briefing about, the very first order of business of his first term. That should have given us all the clues we needed to know that this is the type of person that we're dealing with. This is the type of person that we've elected to the highest office in the land, a 10-year-old, a petty 10-year-old. And these are just some of the things that a petty 10-year-old would do. He would take all of the people that came before him and make fun of them and be like, ha ha, what a loser. And this is exactly what he's done with the White House in that hallway with all the plaques that are supposed to honor all the presidents of this country. It's honestly a disgrace. I mean, imagine what people around the world think of America now with this news coming out. Imagine what it's like being in just any other country looking at America. It's a giant joke. And, the reality is, this is all happening at the same time that the economy is falling apart at the seam. Trump's own tariffs have decimated entire sectors of this economy. I mean, look at the farming industry. They're struggling so hard right now to the point where they need a $12 billion aid package that isn't even going to help them because it's going to go straight to the people that they have to pay. Look at what he's done with the soybeans and the beef and just selling out all these industries to foreign countries. Look at jobs, look at wages, look at inflation, look at housing prices. Like, no matter which factor you look at, the economy is absolutely despicable. The only thing that's up is the stock market, which is not a good sign of a healthy economy, given that stocks are at all-time highs, while wages and opportunities and jobs are at all-time lows. Housing is just absolutely unaffordable now. People are working 3 jobs just to get by. People are now using buy now, pay later programs to fund their groceries. All of the, like, if this was happening when we were in good times, at least we could all laugh and be like, ha ha, well, that's funny. But, when the next person gets in, they'll, clean it up a bit. But it's just an extra slap in the face that people are suffering. The economy is in the dumps, and he's making this whole egomaniac spin and joke out of everything. Like, all of this combined is just, he's got to go. Like, this man needs to go, and for the supposed most transparent administration in history, as they call it, all the cover-ups of his medical stuff, obviously that whole historical thing with his financial audits that never got done, that he was supposed to get done. This whole administration really is a joke. And these plaques that Trump has created is a real reflection and testament to that.